My Little Pony is a show about ponies who are friends and face challenges together. Or so you think. It goes much, much deeper than you could ever imagine. Yeah, I'm a little dramatic. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you're new. Today we are talking about the entirety of the My Little Pony franchise, Gen 4 to be specific, because we can. Well, to the best of my abilities. Today's video we are only focusing on season 1 because I don't exactly know the logistics of posting a 12-hour video. Due to the fact that the script is already like 12 pages long, and we are only on season 1, we're not even on like season 2 yet. So I feel like I'm just gonna keep it nice and short and simple. Anyway, get into it. You guys don't want to care anyway. But before we get started into the season 1 part of this, we have to go to the pony history, the My Little Pony history, of course. Hasbro has produced several incarnations of the My Little Pony universe franchise, whatever you want to call it. These are regularly referred to as different generations by the toy collectors line. Animator and writer Lauren Faust urged Hasbro to develop Galaxy Girls, her girls' toys property, into an animated series, although she was unsuccessful for years. Important to note that Lauren had previously worked on Cartoon Network's Powerpuff Girls and Foster Home for Imaginary Friends. When Lauren approached Lisa Licht of Hasbro Studios, Licht was interested in producing Galaxy Girls, but showed Lauren the My Little Pony special, Princess Promenade. Licht thought that Lauren's style was suitable for the brand and asked her to consider some ideas on which to take a new version of this franchise. Lauren was initially hired by Hasbro. The fuck? Why is there a bug? Go away! Lauren was initially hired by Hasbro to create a pitch bible for the show. She was extremely skeptical about taking the job. She thought that a show based on girls' toys was dull. Although My Little Pony was one of her favorite toys growing up, Lauren was disappointed by the TV show's characters. With a chance to work on My Little Pony, she hoped to prove that cartoons for girls don't have to be a puddle of smushy, cutesy-wootsy goody two-shoes like the original series. Another, direct quote, as I believe. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, guys. Lauren oh my god, I actually can't read today. This is like a problem. Lauren incorporated many elements contradicting stereotypes of girls. The message were that friends can differ and remain friends. The idea that girls should not be limited on what others say. Using her childhood as a guide, she imagined 3 types of ponies: unicorns, pegasi, and earth ponies, with different cultures and living in different places. Faust pictured the unicorns in the mountains, the pegasi in the clouds, and the earth ponies on the ground. She envisioned them as realistic horses who ate hay, lived in bars, pulled carts, wore saddles, and picked up objects with their mouth. Okay, now we got the creation part out of the way. Let's get into the real fun stuff. When we first start the show, we get introduced to one of our main characters, Twilight Sparkle. Well, I guess I could count Spike with that, but he's just there. He's a man. He's not important. No, he's important. I do love Spike. Ignore that. Moving on. First introduced to Twilight when she is in Canterlot, being a bookworm and low-key, dare I say, an awful friend. I'm not gonna lie, when I rewatched the first season for this deep dive, if you will, I didn't really notice how rude Twilight was because I didn't really rewatch the first episode that often. I know, scandalous, but what can I say? I wasn't a fan, but I rewatched it recently and oh my god, she was so rude. But anyway, so they are preparing for the 1000th Summer Sun celebration. The first Summer Sun celebration was celebrated not long after Nightmare Moon's defeat and banishment into the moon because Celestia is like grr. Anyway. Did I even say why? The event mainly commemorating Celestia's defeat on her sister. The event consists of Celestia raising the sun and the moon at side by side. She also, I probably should mention that, defeated her sister, Luna, Nightmare Moon, because Luna got jealous because sisters, I guess, and she's like, grr, you can't be jealous and become evil. I banish you to the moon. And yeah, you get the gist. So legend says that on the 1000th year, Nightmare Moon will return, which our little bookworm Thailand obviously reads. That's so obvious. But no one believes her that it'll happen, not even Celestia, because a little delulu like that, Celestia has a bit of an ego, but you learn to, accept that. They don't believe her to the point because they're celebrating the Summer Sun celebration in Ponyville for this time, which is everyone's like, oh, so excited. So she's shipped. There is like a weird bug in my room right now, and it's actually like pissing me off. Go away. Thank you. But yeah, basically she's like, I don't believe you, Twilight. Go to Ponyville and go make sure everything's perfect for the celebration, because Luna's not going to come back. So she is sent off to the beautiful town of Ponyville, where we are introduced to our main characters, of course. Pinkie Pie, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, and Rarity, of course, the babes. Who are all, of course, preparing for the Summer Sun celebration, because, hikey over there, it is a big deal. Who would have thought? What page are we on? 3. Now, before we continue, no, this is not a sponsor drop, even though I wish it could be, but, I ain't cool enough for that just yet. It's pony history time. So, a long, long time ago, the land of Equestria was founded by 3 pony races, Earth ponies, Pegasi, and Unicorns, who all hated each other for separate reasons. During this hatred, the Wendigos began to take power. They feed off of hatred. And it began freezing over future Equestria until 3 ponies, Clover the Clever, Private Pansy, and Smart Cookie, a unicorn, Pegasi, and Earth pony, began to bond over how stupid the whole situation was, and slowly became friends, which inevitably drove the Wendigos away because, oh no, they're friends now. And suddenly they can't feed on hatred. So the frozen land became unfrozen, and soon, wow, the amazing Equestria was created, where ponies lived in harmony. History lesson over. Back to the first episode. Thank you, Svetlana. You're too kind. You're welcome, Svetlana. You're just amazing. Someone needs to keep my ego in check. Anyway, so after we are introduced to our main 6, or most of Twilight is, she decides to head to her temporary home in Ponyville to call it a night. Her temporary home being a library, which is pretty fitting for our, our queen. But Miss Pinkie Pie had different plans, and by different plans, I mean a surprise party with the whole entire fucking village of, Ponyville. And Twilight obviously hated that because, well, it's Twilight and she hates people and just wants to read and be alone because she's a big party pooper. Egghead things, you've watched the show, you know what it is. Anywho, after a long night of partying, they're a little pooped out. But it's time for the Summer Sun celebration, where Celestia is going to raise the sun. But oh no, you'll never guess what happened. Celestia isn't there. Why? Because you will never believe it. Who was right? Twilight was right, which means Nightmare Moon escaped the moon. Bum, bum, bum. The same Nightmare Moon that was meant to be banished to the moon forever, but only Twilight reads the stories that she was going to escape, but no one believed her except for Miss Twilight. But no one believed her. So, listen to your friends, guys, I guess. Now, the rest of the episode consists of them going on a mini adventure through the Everfree Forest to go and get the magical elements of harmony, and showing their different personalities and traits, basically becoming friends slowly. I'd go into more detail about it, but I'm realizing that you could also just watch the original episode, which is much more interesting than me just yapping about it, so you can come back here when you're done watching it. So come on, chop chop. Actually, it's not even the first episode, it's the second episode of that. Just keep up. Now, the elements of harmony are one of many magical enhancement items in the show. However, how they work is a little bit more complicated than the rest of them. Historically, the elements of harmony were grown from the tree of harmony in the Everfree Forest. Princess Celestia and Princess Luna originally used them to protect Equestria, famously banishing villains like Nightmare Moon and turning discord to stone, of course. The main 6 discovered that they alone possessed the capacity to wield the elements. When faced with crisis, the bearer must embody their respective virtues. When the qualities of honesty, kindness, laughter, generosity, and loyalty are present, they ignite with the spark of the bearer of magic, activating the ultimate power of the elements. Honestly, we can go into so many, like, how many plot holes there are in the elements of harmony alone, because there's a lot, because, why wouldn't they be? But, overall, they're pretty simple to understand. I like them. They're kind of fun, funsies. They don't really make sense either. They kind of like, it's kind of like that win all. It's like, we have elements of harmony. We can beat you for everything. But that was kind of a conflict later on in the show. I think they clocked that, we can't just have them like beating everyone with like these one. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a plot convenience thing. Anywho, a lot of these. Each element is represented and wielded by one of the main six in the show. In the second episode, when they turn Nightmare Rune back into Princess Luna. Honesty represented by Applejack. The element stands for truthfulness, dependability, and standing by one's word. Which is actually, when I start reading these out, you'll start noticing how really like, what's it called? Oh my god, what's the word? I actually don't know. Anyway. Kindness represented by Fluttershy, which embodies compassion, empathy, and caring for all living things. Laughter represented by Pinkie Pie. The element brings joy and lightens even in the darkness and most terrifying situations. Generosity represented by Rarity, focuses on giving without expecting anything in return and valuing others. Loyalty represented by Rainbow Dash. It symbolizes wavering, dedication, courage, and standing by friends. And magic represented by Twilight Sparkle. This element sparks that connect. This element is the spark that connects all the other 5 elements, representing magic or friendship itself. Low-key, kind of like the most useless of them all, really. Like, come on. I don't get it. But anyway. The elements of harmony are the integral part of the storyline that helps them defeat almost every villain they come across in this series. But what I really like about the show is even when the girls went on a magical adventure together, most shows would immediately make them best friends forever, but Lauren Foss didn't, and actually took the girls, I want to say, up until halfway through season 2 for them to actually become really good friends, because like throughout season 1 there was like so much drama for so much bullshit, in my opinion. Like they were friends, but also like not really. Like they were just like acquaintances. Like they moved up. Like, they moved up in the friendship world. They went to strangers, to acquaintances, to friends, to kind of friends, to besties, like for life, And that's how it should be in every show. But no, most shows are just like, hey, these girls are best friends just because they're best friends. Anyway. You hear the gist. So now we gotten through our basic 2 first introduction episodes out of the way. We can look over the next major event in the Ponyverse. I give you the Grand Galloping Gala. Now, not only does this event give us absolute banger of a tune, it also gives us our first friendship lesson. Why, you may ask? Well, obviously because our girl Celestia gave Twilight 2 tickets to this grand event, which is really fucked up when you really think about it, because this woman knew there was 5 ponies that Twilight, like in Twilight's friendship circle, because like they saved her pony ass from her own fucking sister. But you know what, I digress. But anyway, the first major internal conflict like Twilight has is like who she's gonna bring to this, great galloping gala, because obviously she can't bring everyone if she only has 2 freaking tickets, but so we spend the entire episode like basically with everyone else trying to convince Twilight on why they should be the one to go with her. Every pony has like crazy like different reasons on why they should go. Fluttershy wants to go to the garden. Fluttershy wants to go to the gardens to meet all the farm animals, all the normal animals. Applejack wants to sell all her food and make money for Sweet Apple Acres. Rarity wants to network for her business. I'll get into depth with that later. Be with me. Rainbow Dash wants to meet her idols, and Pinkie Pie, wants to party. It's Pinkie Pie. Come on, keep up. Now, most people would agree that Applejack should be the obvious choice here, but I digress. I have a very controversial opinion here. I don't think Applejack should have been the pony chosen. Because firstly, who in their right mind is buying food at an event with freak food? Second of all, if we look at the history of Ponyville, the apples are like high-key, low-key, like peak pony nepotism. Because not only, like, they pretty much, like, if, from what I've gathered from the pony history, if you will, they discovered Ponyville. Like, Granny Smith was one of the OGs in Ponyville. So, like, technically, they own, like, most, if not, all the land there. So, I don't get it. I digress. Also, if we just look at the amount of land they have in general, like, they fucking loaded. They got money. So, I don't understand why these flies are actually gonna make me go insane. This is what I get for opening my window. Heat wave shit. But yeah, basically, like, that's my controversial thing. I don't think that Applejack should go. Not to mention, like, they basically have a, like, apple monopoly going on in Ponyville because no other bitch is, like, selling apples because no one else got the land for it. So I don't exactly get how they're meant to be in, like, debt even though they have, this much money. I digress. I'll get into... I'll tell you exactly who needed to go with Twilight, but we gotta get into that dressmaking episode because, oh my god. Like, our girl Verity was really put through it in that episode because not only does she, like, basically offer to make 5 dresses for free, which, like, hell yeah, queen, collect that shit, be your bestie, whatever. That's not the problem. The problem is when the girls see the dresses for the first time. I've never seen bitches more ungrateful for a free dress. Oh, actually had me pressed, like, genuinely, like, what do you mean? She went out of her way to make you something nice, and you're just gonna be like, I don't actually like that. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up. It's not like you're paying for it. Well, at least it didn't seem like you were paying for it. Like, seriously. And not to mention, like, Anyway, this diva goes out of her way and makes 10 dresses, by the way, by the end of the episode. Not to mention, she ruined her whole ass reputation because she made the dresses not only for the Galloping Gala, but also for a little fashion show that she was holding with Mr. Fancy Pants. I think it was Fancy Pants. I don't know. Whatever fashionista dude. The one with the fucking... I'll put him up on the screen. I'm gonna, like, lay down like this. Okay, listen, my back hurts. Leave me be. Where am I? Fancy Pants. Yeah, the fashion show. Like, so... But yeah, purely for that reason, I believe that Rarity should have been the pony chosen for the ticket originally, because not only did she go through all that effort, even though she really didn't have to, like, why are these girls complaining about having free dresses and making the ugliest things? But I do love the little lesson at the end, where it's like you can't really use your friends, and, like, where the girls used Fluttershy's scary knowledge on sewing, by the way. That was such a random plot point to make Rarity her dream dress for the event. Because, that's called friendship evolution, guys. But yeah, that, if we just go to the entire gala episode at the end, it's a disaster. And of course, our girls are to blame, causing havoc wherever they go. But that's what I love about how the show... that's what I love about this end of the... But yeah, there's a whole, gala episode, which was an absolute disaster because of course our girls are to blame, causing havoc wherever they go. And I love how at the end of the episode the girls accept the chaos and just see it as a great memory made to value their friendship. Also, not to mention, like, Celestia thinking it's fucking hilarious too, so there's that too. What I can't get over though is the amount of serious topics they go through in just one season. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. So, I know we're kind of, like, we're a bit weird here with the episodes because, like, we kind of just went through all the gala episodes, which is a few of them. So, I'm going to kind of, like, escape those and just go move on to season episode 4 because we don't know what happened to. I believe 3 is, the 3 is the Ticketmaster. And then 4 will be Applebook season. So, episode 4, Applebook season. These clouds are going to make me go insane. So basically, our girl Applejack, being Applejack, she's all like, she needs to do harvest season. And I think maybe Macintosh is sick or injured or some shit like that. So she has to do it by herself. But obviously, she does not have, the time to do it by herself. So basically, she overexerts herself, exhausts herself, and refuses to ask for any help, of course, because, it's Applejack and she's a stubborn little girl. So, what can you do? Until her body, basically just goes kaput. And realizes to put her little pride and ego aside and to accept the help that's offered. Like, I feel like this episode really can give us something to relate to a lot because, we're whether it be overworking at work, studying nonstop, or overdoing it in your sport, burnout is real, and when we need help, we shouldn't be afraid to ask. And I feel like that's a very important message to give young girls, especially because it is a problem. It genuinely is. We all have that problem where we just overdo it, and we don't realize that until someone will point it out to us, or our body, unfortunately, gives out. I would know. My body did give out. Don't talk about it. So apparently my egotistical of I can do everything by myself, not the smartest idea. I now have 2 discs that are kind of gone in my back. I know, at the right page of 21. Guys, I'm achieving things that take people years to achieve. But anywho, episode 5, Driven Off the Bush. This episode pissed me off so much. Even as a kid, genuinely, So basically, the theme here, I would say, is introducing 2 of your friends to each other that never met. You know that thing. You have one group of friends and you have the other group of friends, and you just don't. Oh, I found money. Money. When you're 2 friends and you're bringing them to meet for the first time, and then it's kind of awkward because you're not sure how they're meant to respond to each other. That is basically this episode, but unfortunately, one of the friends, Mrs. Gilda, not too fond of our girl Pinky, so now they're having this whole little rivalry. They're having a rivalry. And basically, Gilda's just trying to keep Rainbow Dash away from Pinkie Pie. That's basically the entire episode. Not to mention the other theme of Pinkie Pie just feeling super left out and her friend not being there. Which, oh my god, I do relate to. Because being a kid sucks, especially a shy one who doesn't speak up and, people just being mean. But it's okay, because I have great friends now. And anyway, off topic. So by the end of the episode, Pinkie Pie comes up with an idea to throw a party for Gilda, obviously, because it's Pinkie. So they get over the differences, but of course, in true Pinkie fashion, Gilda, of course, has to be pranked a few times, which she's not okay with at all, showing her true colors towards Pinkie Pie to everyone. But plot twist, Pinkie was not the one that set up the pranks. It was actually Miss Rainbow Dash. And that is when Miss Rainbow saw the actual true colors of, behind her friend. Now, Miss Rainbow is obviously not too fond of keeping, her friendship with Gilda after that, because, I don't think anyone want to be friends with someone that treats one of your other friends so poorly. It's just not the vibe. So this episode gives us a great lesson on why, or how this episode really gets a good lesson on how some people just only end up showing their true colors years later. You wouldn't even realize it. And it's okay to not want to be friends with that person anymore. Throughout our lives, we will meet so many people like that. People you think they're your best friends. And it's okay to let go of those friendships, because some friendships are better when they're... Because some friendships are better when they're old. What? Because some relationships are better when they're over, and that's a hard truth that unfortunately is, believe it or not, true. Episode number 6, Boast Busters. If there was ever an episode about ego, ever, it would be this episode, because our girl Trixie, sorry, I did that wrong. The great and powerful Trixie is introduced into this episode, and I believe she has the amulet of something. I will put the name up on the screen. I don't remember the amulet name, but some amulet. And she comes into town, and she's basically challenging Twilight and her friends to prove their skills, because, she's a great and powerful sorcerer. And, long story short, they figure out that she's a fraud. Believe it or not. Shocker! I think this was just a really fun episode. But also, it introduces us to the fact that there's more magical enhancement elements in the pony universe, which is crazy. There's loans, actually, but we gotta keep up with those. There's money-making seasons, so what you gonna do? Hold on, there's something on my sock that's, stabbing me. But yeah, basically, I think this episode is just a big like, hey, pipe down on your ego, or you're gonna be like humiliated, which is, fair enough. Episode number 7, Dragon Shy. Basically, a big dragon comes into Ponyville and is like, and he's sickening the cave and he's causing a lot of smoke and a lot of noise and a lot of havoc. And the girls are like, we're gonna go up there and kick him out, basically, because, that's what they do. Girl power. And Fluttershy turns out to be like, terrified of dragons. Oh, shocker. So we spend the entire episode of her being a little scaredy cat, which is okay, because you're allowed to be afraid of things. That's okay. Everyone's allowed to be afraid of something. We're all afraid of something. I'm terrified of needles. So basically, she gets up there, and she's all like, ugh, this is scary, wary. But, she learns to overcome her fears to help people in need, which is kind of really important to know. Like, even if you're afraid of something, and it's not going to kill you is the main thing, even though a dragon might. But, you face your fears when it's needed and when it works the best, because that's what's important. Facing your fears when it's important and safe. And that's okay. Episode 8, Look Before You Sleep. One of my favorite episodes because they have Applejack and Rarity, absolutely opposite ends of the spectrum, forced into a sleepover at Twilight's. Twilight's super excited because, this is her first ever sleepover, and she's a little nerd, she's like, oh, here's my book for sleepovers. And Rarity and Applejack are very much hitting heads on absolutely everything. They're not agreeing with anything because it's just not their vibe. Like, Applejack's too rustic for Rarity, Rarity's too prim and proper for Applejack, and they're just not getting along. They're just butting heads, and it's not working. And obviously, they're trying to put on a show to have a good time with Twilight, but it's clearly not working either because there's so much tension going on. And the entire episode is just bickering back and forth until eventually Twilight snaps at them, and a lot of issues end up happening. And at the end of the episode, we learn how important it is to put your differences aside, especially for a friend, which I think is very important. A very good lesson to take. Like, I think we all benefit a lot from watching My Little Pony. I think so. Episode 9, Bridal Gossip. So basically, pony racism. Yeah, that episode existed. So basically, a zebra comes into town and everyone locks themselves away because the zebra's a little different and they just kind of stare at her and judge her and they think she's a witch and a weird goblin and etc. In other words, pony racism. This is the first episode where we're introduced to pony racism, and gladly the girls do overcome. They do think that the zebra did curse them because they ran through these magical flowers. They gave them all weird illnesses and sicknesses. But no, they just ran through funny flowers. And then, Zecora was actually the one that helped them get better. And they obviously do make friends with Zecora after and let everyone else know that it's okay. So we had pony racism and then pony anti-racism. Very important episode, Almost as important as pony communism, but we'll get to that eventually. There's some serious topics. For being a kids show, there were some seriously all over the place topics right now. But whatever. This episode 10, Swarm of the Century. Ponyville is taken, overrun by a cute swarm of these tiny little ravenous bugs that multiply when they eat some things. So they just go double, 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 double. So that's always fun. I think it was Fluttershy who found them and then shared them with Twilight and then so on and so forth. And the entire episode is that they eat everything and then keep multiplying. So they destroy towns by eating them. And obviously, Celestia is deciding to come down to Ponyville for a visit. So they're a little stressed out because these tiny little bugs are wreaking havoc. And Pinkie Pie is trying to tell everyone, guys, she was warning everyone from day one, but no one was listening to her because they all thought she was a bit of a loony, which is a fair assumption with Pinkie Pie, to be fair. But anyway, she does save the day by collecting a buttload of instruments and playing an awful song and leading these tiny little feeding munchkins out of Ponyville. But I think the lesson of this episode, realistically, would be hey, even your friend's a little cuckoo, you should probably listen to them, especially if they're very serious and low-key going insane for their, opinions. So I think that's very important. Yeah, that's it. Just, your friend really is freaking out about something, probably listen to them. Good feelings are always right, I think. Episode 11, Winter Wrap-Up. Winter Wrap-Up. First of all, banger song. Banger episode. Basically, it's just Twilight trying to fit in. it's just, trying her best to fit in and figuring out, hey, they can never get this finished, and she uses her own skills. Like, you don't have to fit in. You can just adapt your own skills to make them, work. And she did. So she adapted her own skills so she could eventually help. And her skills being quite literally making lists and making schedules so everything works out on time and they can actually get winter over in time, because they do it manually, because seasons don't exist. Because seasons basically don't exist. Well, they do exist, but they have to be done manually because, pony logic or whatever. So that is the winter wrap-up episode. Basically, you'll fit in, even if you're new, in a different way, because that's life. Call of the Cutie Mark, episode 12. Ooh, this episode really, it's just basically Apple Bloom feeling like she's left behind because everyone else in her class is getting their cutie marks, and she's far behind and leaving alone. And I think this episode is really important, especially to, honestly, not even to kids, honestly to people in their 20s, because it's like, yeah, you may be feeling like you're falling behind, but everyone's at their own point in this, in their lives, and it's very sweet. It's a very important message. Everyone's at their different paces in life. Some things will happen to someone before, some things will happen sooner than later. You never know. And that's what life is like. And that's why I think this is important. It's an important episode. And at the end of the episode, Apple Bloom finds other people like her. Other people like her that are also cutie markless. And it works out in the end. Which is truth with life. Episode 13, Fall Weather Friends. This one's just competition. Applejack, Rainbow Dash. Competitive. They do a bunch of competitions to see who wins, and they draw. Of course they draw. And then they decide, let's go on this weird forest run thing. And the entire thing, just basically watching them get into their heads about being overly competitive, which is not really ideal all the time, because being competitive is fun to an extent, but when you push it too far, it causes more issues than solutions, because they were borderlining almost killing each other and hurting other people rather than running the race to get the leaves done. It's meant to be a nice, calm, fun thing, but they took it way too far. And yeah, it's just, I think the lesson to this episode is just not take things too far. Don't ever take things too far. But again, this is what I mean about the whole, you could tell in season 1 and, basically up until, season 2.5, where, you could tell they're friends, but they're not, besties yet, because there's still a bit of, tension between them, and I think that's important in every show, just to show that not everything is sunshines and rainbows, if you will. I'm just gonna put a lot of pony clips when I speak here. Episode 14. Right, that's on. Episode 15. Feeling Pinky Keen. So I think Twilight Loki goes into a bit of a psychosis in this episode because the pinky senses happen. The pinky senses are a whole separate topic in themselves. Oh my god, I can go really in depth in him. Basically, the pinky senses, they're the spider senses version of In This World, where she just senses things in the future. She's weird little nooks and knackies and kind of for nooks and knacks for this world. And she could just sense some bad things happen because she's Pinkie Pie. Of course she can. She's Loki, a Lord of Chaos herself. And we know this because the more you watch the show, the more you know she has some chaos power going on. Because her and Discord, they're like this. But yeah, you just watch Twilight sparkle and just spiral in this episode. Absolutely spiral her way out of this episode because she's that can't be right, this is not scientifically possible, and this I don't believe it and all that, and she's making a whole big deal about it, even though Pinkie Pie is just yeah, it works. And yeah, it's I don't know. So episode 16, the Shonic Rainbow. So, we have Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy prepping her for a race, and Fluttershy doing a very awful job at yelling. We get our favorite scene. And yeah, she's basically prepping for a race, and she has a bunch of nerves, and she has to perform the Sonic Rainbow that she only did once before in her life when she was a child. Spoiler alert, it's when Aldo got their fucking cutie marks too, because they're all connected and friendship and stuff. And yeah, so basically she's super nervous about this competition, and obviously her friends want to go up and support her, obviously. So Rarity gets her fancy wings, and she starts showing them off a little bit too much because, like, they're not like Pegasi wings, they're fancy, like almost butterfly wings. And she's going around and she decides to join the competition with Rainbow Dash. Now, Rainbow Dash is freaking out with nerves, and Rarity goes off showing off her wings in the competition, flies a little too close to the sun, which I think was a really funny analogy, and her wings burn to a crisp and disappear. Now, because she's a unicorn, she kind of just, gravity takes the wheel. And that is like what clicks to Rainbow Dash, and Rainbow Dash flies down to save her best friend, but she flies so fast that she causes the Sonic of Rainbow, and they all live happily ever after. And basically, the lesson here is, don't fly too close to the sun. I know, ironically enough. Don't show off too much. Don't be too much of a showy offy pants. A few of the episodes are kind of just, like, they're just cute little lessons, and, episode 17, The Stairmaster. Basically, Fluttershy takes over the task of babysitting the three girls, and they're causing havoc because they're children, and they don't know, but, the one thing they don't know is the Fluttershy has the power of the stare. She has a really intense stare that scares the shit out of the people. So Fluttershy uses that against them and scares the crap out of them to listen, basically. And they don't, and they learn a lesson because they got into a real pickle. And yeah, basically a lesson then at the end. So basically listen to adults with that lesson. Episode 18, The Showstopper. The Cutie Mark Crusaders enter a student talent show to try to get a guaranteed Cutie Mark, because I do a lot of that Cutie Mark trying to acquiring it. Enter a show, throw on an absolutely awful performance, which I think, well, first of all, iconic. Was it good? No, but low-key, I do catch myself singing, "We are the Cutie Mark Crusaders, on a quest to find out who we are." Don't ask why I know all the words. Okay, leave me alone. Leave me be. I am a My Little Pony nerd at heart, okay? I listen to that soundtrack way too often. But yeah, basically they fill a talent show of Cutie Marks. They learn about stage presence. They get into little arguments. Basic. Episode, where are we? Episode 19, A Dog and Pony Show. Rarity and Spike go out looking for diamonds, because they always do that. It's kind of like a little bonding thing. And Rarity gets, like, kidnapped by these diamond dogs, and they all assume, Rarity's gonna be in serious trouble because she can't handle herself because she's just a prim and proper lady. No, she's actually a sassy queen diva who does whatever the fuck she wants. So it was just an episode of people underestimating her just because she's such a diva, even though she very well handled them. She went kaboot, and walked out like the absolute diva she is. That is all. And we also do get the iconic, stop whining all the time. This is complaining, not whining. This is whining. You know that scene. Anyway, episode 20. Ooh, green isn't your color. Oh, the first miscommunication jealousy trope. Rarity has an event with Photoshop Finish, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna show off my hats, but I need a model." She finds Fluttershy. Fluttershy gets the fame. She's modeling. She's all over the place. Rarity's jealous. Obviously, she's jealous. Like, this is her dream, and Fluttershy's having it, but she's not gonna say that she's jealous to her friend's face, because her friend, seems like she's enjoying it. And throughout the episode, we just watched Rarity, like, just subtly get more and more resentment towards Fluttershy, because Fluttershy's living her dream that she can't live. But what you don't know on the behind the scenes is Fluttershy doesn't want to disappoint Rarity. But Fluttershy also doesn't want to do this anymore. She's not very happy. She doesn't like modeling. There's too much attention. She just wants to be by herself, alone. She's very introverted queen gal kind of thing. So basically, they're both like not telling each other there's a problem because they don't want to hurt each other's feelings. But if they would just tell each other the truth, they wouldn't, they wouldn't actually hurt each other's feelings. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, fair enough," because the same girly. And I think it's a very important lesson, because I feel like a lot of friendships and even relationships go through that, where you don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, but in reality, you're actually hurting them even more if you just don't tell the truth. Basically, communication is important, guys. 21, Over the Barrel. This one's just basically colonization pony version, because there's ponies in Appaloosa, and there's buffalo, and the buffalo want their land, the ponies want their land. The buffalo were like, we were here first and you took it over. The ponies were like, no, you weren't. Basically, pony colonization. If you really want a history in that, you can watch the episode 21, season 1, Over the Barrel. Episode 22, A Bird and a Hoof. So they invite Celestia over to a tea party in the Sugar Cube Corner, and Fluttershy's running a little late, and they come in and they're having a little nice time, and then she notices Celestia's pet bird. I forget the bird's name. Oh, Philomena? I think it was Philomena. And she looks absolutely decrepit, and Fluttershy, being an animal, savior, rescuer, she's like, I can't leave that poor baby here, so she kidnaps the princess's bird. So we spend the entire episode chasing. Well, basically, Fluttershy tries to figure out what's wrong with this bird. The bird runs away, and they're chasing the bird, so, they don't lose the princess's pet. And then the bird blows up into a million flames and becomes powder. And they're all, heartbroken and, crying. But it turns out Philomena is actually a phoenix, and they do that because they mulch. And, Celestia explains this, and this lesson we learn, you do not take things that are not yours, or at least without asking. And it's an important lesson. Yeah, even if you think it's the right thing, but it's not, you never know. To episode 23, the Cutie Mark Chronicles. Basically, the Cutie Mark Crusaders are hunting down to see, basically how Rainbow Dash earned her Cutie Mark, because, it's Rainbow Dash, and Rainbow Dash is super cool, and they run a fan club for her and everything. So they actually have to go through every single other character before they get to Rainbow Dash, and they learn the story of how they all got their Cutie Mark. But here's the fun thing we learn as the audience in this episode ourselves is they all got their Cutie Mark at the same time during the Sonic Rainboom that Rainbow Dash originally did. It was just kind of like a feeling of connection that they were always meant to be connected, and the universe wanted them to be best friends, which I think is very cute and wholesome and very adorable. But also there's a lot of logistics we can go into here, but I'm not really going to because it is 1:12 a.m. and I am 52 minutes into this video, so we are going to move on. We'll probably get more in depth about everything in season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Episode 24, Owl's Well That Ends Well. Basically, another case of jealousy. Twilight finds an owl outside, brings him in, helps him. Owl pet. Spike, not too fond of this owl, just jealousy because, how dare something else take away Twilight's time? Which is fair because, all he's ever known is Twilight's time. But jealousy strikes, they get into a kerfuffle, Spike tries to get rid of the owl, but, Twilight finds out, makes him apologize, and then all ends with Owl's Well. Whatever. Episode 25, A Party of One. This is the last episode we're talking about for this video, because episode 26 is the last ending of The Great Galloping Gala, and we already talked about that earlier in this video. So, Party of One. Basically, Pinkie Pie, she invites her friends all into a lovely, lovely party, as they do. And she's so great. The party's so great because it's a party for Gummy, and she wants to have a follow-up party the next day. And now everyone's making excuses. And it's kind of strange to her, what the fuck? Why are all my friends, why is no one showing up? And now Pinkie Pie being Pinkie, because we gotta remember, she's a little loony. She starts going really in the loony bin and thinking none of her friends actually like her, and she goes into a high-key psychosis. What she doesn't know is that her friends are actually planning her a birthday party, but in her mind, she thinks everyone's avoiding her, no one actually likes her, because, we got people let things get to their head, which is fair enough, which is what this episode really tries to show you, is, don't let everything get to your head, even the small little details, because end of the day, she just forgot it was her own birthday, had a little depressive episode, came back to it, and bada bing, bada boom, she's back to herself. And that is that episode. Low-key, one of my favorite episodes. It's so interesting to see how far they were able to push it for a kids show. She really, went into a proper madness, speaking to, different inanimate objects, and, just the animation itself was really fucking creepy too, not to mention. But yeah, that is my end of the part 1 of the My Little Pony deep dive, because again, there's a lot. I didn't even get through half the things I wanted to say, but you know what, that's more videos in the future. That's season 1 completed. Next video is gonna be season 2, and then season 3, and then season 4, and so up until season 9, so on and so forth. So that's gonna be very fun. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave it a like. Maybe subscribe if you're feeling extra nice and you're ready for more pony content, because I'm a brony, or whatever the female version of that is. I don't know. I like the word broning. It's fun. And I think season 1 is, season 1 overall is really good. It's a really good pilot. A good starting for the episode. It's good. It's easy for kids to understand. There's some seriously valuable life lessons in there for kids and adults, and I really like it. I don't really go to watch season 1 more often. I actually, dare I say, prefer Twilight with Wings. I know, controversial opinion, but there's a lot of controversial opinions here. So, it's my video, my channel. You can hate if you want. I don't really care. And if you made it this far, comment down below your favorite pony. Mine's Pinkie Pie, if you couldn't tell, with my amazing sense of humor. Ha ha ha. But thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all next week for season 2. Bye, guys.